My name is Michael Guido, and I'm based at our headquarters here in San Antonio, Texas. Wow. There are so many things that make Mendix powerful. It really is like a Swiss Army knife when it comes to enterprise software. I think what makes it powerful is that it abstracts away a lot of the monotonous technical overhead that's required to deploy enterprise web scale application and allows low-code business engineers to focus on the actual business value. What is the problem we're going to solve? How are we going to move the information? What's the interface going to look like? Rather than trying to configure the infrastructure and the networking and the security. So that combined with the visual approach really drives efficiencies for businesses who adopt the technology, ultimately lowering the total cost of ownership and improving their return on investment, and ultimately at the end of the day shortening their time to value. I'm not sure that this is necessarily the most challenging problem that we've solved with Mendix, but I think it's one of the most impactful. Prior to COVID, we had Kinetech Cloud, which is our composable SaaS service for social assistance programs within federal, state, and local government. And that was primarily used for LIHEAP, Low Income Energy Emergency Assistance Program. Fast forward to COVID, and governments had to go remote. Their processes were paper-based, and you had an unprecedented demand for rental and mortgage assistance because the government said it's illegal for you to go to work. Landlord, it's illegal for you to evict your tenant, but homeowner, we still need property taxes. And tenants couldn't pay their landlords couldn't pay their taxes. We needed to get this money out to the people who needed it most quickly. And we had a very short time frame to do it. For the organizations that we work with, like the state of Michigan, they had to get 65% of the funding out within the first 9 months, or they risk losing the remaining 35%. And I'm really happy to report that under very tight pressure, 100% remote environment, very strict timelines, Kinetech was able to deliver for the state of Michigan to manage their entire COVID program, which ultimately resulted in about $1 billion and really helped the state of Michigan get back on its feet. It was in the top 5 states in the country as far as moving it out, and they actually were able to secure additional funds. And that's a very similar story with the city of San Antonio and the city of Dallas and other organizations that have leveraged the Kinetech Cloud. So really proud to use technology for good and to help people who need a hand up. I think the Mendix project that I'm most proud of was actually kind of one of the skunk work projects that got me into Mendix. My family back in Texas runs a general contracting business, and they were really struggling with their ERP. It's project management for general contracting. They do some very large commercial projects annually. And all of the software that was on the market was, kind of same story as everyone sees, is either, too expensive, not configurable enough, or doesn't quite meet their exact specifications. And so the current CEO of the company at the time approached me and said, you're doing some interesting things with software. Do you think you could help us out? And in the evenings, nights, and weekends, working on this project in my spare time, I proved to myself that, a team of one could build literally an enterprise-grade application on their own, as long as they're working with a knowledgeable subject matter expert from the business. And, that application ultimately has gone through multiple permutations, but, it ultimately was one of the founding kind of code bases for one of the first multi-tenant applications ever built on Mendix, which I was pretty excited about. Sure. My aha moment with Mendix actually happened during my interview to join the company originally. I was the second business engineer when Mendix moved their headquarters from the Netherlands to the United States. And the case study that Jornt and the team gave me at the time was, develop a receipt management application that any Fortune 500 consulting company could use for their traveling consultants. And so if you can imagine, you travel, you get expenses, meals, tickets, whatever, taxis when you're on the road, you'd be able to take a picture of your expense, put in some information, and submit it for approval. The task for me was, we want you to build something like that and present it to us next week. Now, I had never heard of Mendix. No one, I don't even think the term low code had actually been coined yet. That actually happened, 2013, around the time I joined the company, 2012. A rapid application, low code platform, that was a totally novel concept. So when I was faced with this challenge, I thought, there's no way I would be able to build a MySQL database, PHP middleware, and an HTML front end with some CSS for styling, and do that all in a weekend or a week and present it the following Friday. That would typically, something like that would take me a few months to do. And over the course of about 3 or 4 hours, I was able to very quickly create a couple database tables, build some mobile and desktop interfaces, build some very primitive calculations, but actually be able to submit some information, and it just clicked. And in a matter of a weekend, with a technology I'd never heard of, I'd done the work of building an application on my own, and was able to actually deploy it with very little experience with AWS or any type of infrastructure service at the time. So it was a very profound, jarring experience for me, and I thought, wow, I want to see what this company's all about. I think my superpower when it comes to low code and Mendix has evolved as our business has evolved. I would say initially it was architecture and being able to take object-oriented programming concepts and then Mendix and low code concepts and merge them together to explain to someone who's been trained a traditional way how what they've learned carries over to the Mendix platform. We've trained a significant amount of the business engineers in North America. We kind of like to think of ourselves like the stem cell DNA of Mendix, where we're constantly building, and training and hiring and recruiting, low code engineers. So I think my superpower maybe is, telling the story and helping people understand how and why this technology is profound and the difference that it can make for their organization and the things that they're struggling with. I think the advice I would give to an aspiring low-code developer, or even someone who's just considering it, is that low code does not mean low skill. These are some of the most complex applications that are handling some of the most critical workloads for state and local government and Fortune 500 companies. And I think there's this misperception around the developer community that if I'm a back-end engineer or a React developer, that I'm gonna no longer be able to use some of those skills if I adopt a low-code platform. I'm gonna be stuck in this box, and that's just not the case. It's very extensible. It's built open, so you can extend it, but it's built to get you 95 to 99% of the way there with the features and functions that are out of the box. And then if you want to extend it with other tools, you can. I think that I would probably take a serious pass at opening either a brewery or a distillery. I was fortunate enough to live in London for a few years when my wife was in business school, and our son was born there, and I just loved the atmosphere of the pubs and the beer halls and the distilleries, traveling around to Germany and in England and different places. And I think the science behind it and being able to work kind of hand in glove with nature to, put a product on the table that ultimately brings someone joy or relaxation or, celebration, I think would be really kind of a fun endeavor to take on. I said CEO, right? Okay, cool. All right. What blank out?